new millennium has seen some tremendous upsurge. But even back in the 80s and the 90s, you were a prominent member of your community if you owned a television or even a old school phone, and even a refrigerator. I remember, I will recall that people would stand behind my mother's house, the window, just to pip and watch color television. It was something new back in the day. But with all these technologies you have enjoyed in your life, which of them Ghanaian invented, or have you at least once in your life enjoyed some Ghanaian-made technology in your life or in your household? Back to talk about Ghanaian-made technology today is Dr. Kester Quist-Aphetsi, who is a senior lecturer of technology at the GCTU, Senior Lecturer of Computer Science, rather, GCTU. Good morning, sir. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good morning.
My favorite, Dr. Kester, my technology Dr. Kester. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What's your general take on technology in Ghana since the beginning of the new millennium?
Yeah, I think we are seeing a lot of increments in terms of individuals coming out with different forms of innovation, being in IT, engineering, moving parts like mechanics, and also in other sectors in terms of chemistry that has to do with manufacturing of soaps, food, in agriculture and stuff like that. So there has been a huge increment in terms of activities within the sector of technology. But we also have some few challenges, and that challenge will have to be in terms of large-scale commercialization of these technologies, and also how can government and other research institutions ensure that these technologies are actually making the waves in terms of mass production and economics and benefits to the country. Yeah, those are some of the challenges that we have.
Let's really check how well we are doing as a country in terms of technology.
Yeah.
What does Ghana rank, at least in Africa, when it comes to innovations in technology or even just inventions in general?
Yeah, in terms of the scientific ranking, the last time I checked, the data that is used for ranking innovations and other things globally, we should be around in between 15 to 20 and stuff like that, which is
on the continent.
Yeah, on the continent.
That's a middle pack.
Yeah. And
what do you say, bad or not bad?
Well, I think it's not that good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's not that good. We can do better. And we can do very well if we are able to coordinate our research activities. Our CSIR or our research activities across the universities are not that well coordinated, like how it is in very developed countries and also some African countries. And if we could focus on that, I think we could achieve a lot. So we have to revamp our industrial and scientific research, and we have to see how we can get government and also other sectors involved. Because to develop as a country, and if we're looking at the advanced countries, there are three sectors that you have to focus on.
Okay.
One is defense, and the other one is academia, and then you have to focus on the industry. And this has to be coordinated by government. So without government focusing on these three research areas, it will be very difficult for us to move on. Because sometimes when they talk about defense technologies, people think it's all about carrying maybe a gun to
guns
warfare,
and ammunition
to warfare. No, that is not the situation. For instance, if you can use defense technologies to profile people, you can use it to solve a lot of problems within the health sector and stuff like that. Maybe at the war front, if you can perform certain critical surgeries, those first aid can be transferred to save civilians. If you can farm in a particular way, based on some of the defense technologies, that is fine. We can see the advent of mobile phones, navigations and stuff like that. And then in terms of the driverless systems and unmanned systems that are coming into being, these are some of the advantages of these technologies that we have. But in Ghana, we have a lot of potential and we can capitalize on so many sectors, maybe for now, that benefits us. One of the sectors has to be in agriculture. Another one can be in terms of urban development and stuff like that. For instance, when you look at what Apostle Safo is doing, his intention in terms of trying to do what he wanted to do is a little bit okay, but I think he has to focus more on things that benefits us more indirectly rather than some of, not all, but some of his technologies. Because, for instance, the vehicles that he's kind of mass producing, if he can focus on more of the rural sectors and building vehicles that are strong enough for mechanization in terms of agriculture,
that would be better.
Yes, that would have been better. And also in terms of mass production of bricks, strong bricks for development that are cheaper, and then the maintenance of the machine parts are also very easy. Technologies that can aid in road construction, because Ghana, we need a lot of road construction, and if we can get some of these moving parts to do the work, would be very great. So, and I've also not seen much work from the academic sector, where we have them partnering with these developing sectors within the country, because you need the academic sector to support this industry in terms of coming out with better machinery system to do, which we don't see them much more often happening.
There's a lot you've talked about. There's a lot of forward-thinking technology, driverless, paperless, all these things. The comparisons will always be made. Oh, Ghana is the same age as probably Malaysia or even Singapore or these countries, and the comparisons are always made. Do you, in your opinion, after 64 years of independence, is Ghana lacking behind in terms of technology?
Yes, I think we are lacking behind in terms of technology, because I was in Malaysia myself in 2014 to consult for their government on disaster and flood. Okay. And when you even move from, I moved from one city to the other city, and I could see their palm plantation, very huge one, and how they've been able to advance upon that. And we were the one that introduced them to this palm plantation. So imagine if we were to have advanced upon our agriculture sector in terms of all those things. By now we should be ahead in terms of palm plantation, and then producing oil and most of the things that can be used in soaps and other things from the palm plantation. Even Amin Sangari, I learned recently that they are struggling in terms of how to survive as a company, which I think is not good for us as a country. So we haven't done much in terms of support.
You think we are overthinking technology? We are overthinking what technology is in terms of innovations. Like, we want to create something that's truly mind-blowing to the rest of the world, instead of probably creating things that would help small sectors, roads, agriculture, all those sectors. I think we are overthinking it.
Yes, I think we are doing so in certain sectors. And in other sectors that we even try to do something a little, sustainability is one of the issues that we face. So, for instance, if in case, when you come to Ghana Communication Technology, I have a research lab there, Kritak, that we are growing tomatoes using technology. The first phase was very good, and we are expanding it to the second phase, where now the farms will have to talk to each other and share information based on how best a particular farm is performing. That information is relayed to other farms, and the sensors and everything control that. The Ministry of Defense has been very supportive. We've come to have a lot of discussion as to how we can expand. So in the coming years, we'll be doing trials on some of the lands of the Ministry of Defense, which is a very good thing. You will hardly get this kind of support from other communities and stuff like that with other businesses. And from there that we have to go in terms of scalability. Because when you look at even tomato, based on what you are seeing in terms of the local support that we have to provide, the tomato industry in Ghana is very weak, and we have to import a huge amount of tomatoes from our neighboring countries, that is Burkina Faso, and we could also produce much more better tomatoes. So we are trying to fill that gap in terms of providing that local solution for the people. So government needs to pump in so much resources towards those sectors and then help the expansion. Some of us, we are lucky to do our own funding, initial funding for the project. We are also working on another project with Gordon, and this time around to see whether we can secure some funding to expand the project and then share this knowledge with other farmers so that we can produce more foodstuffs. Where I think government have to also take it serious is that when you support these kind of initiatives, it helps create a lot of jobs. And when we produce more tomatoes and we even have more in excess, we can look at how we can process some of them in such a way that we can make much more money. And when you look at the Brexit to UK, is looking up to us in terms of providing some of the vegetables and stuffs that they need. And these are markets we can take advantage of, and we can create a lot of jobs. A sustainable job, not any kind of job,
sustainable job.
Sustainable
if we can
job.
Focus on agricultural technology.
Yeah, technology, we can create that. And also, for instance, when we are producing soaps and other things, it's not all about, you have to take your soap to Food and Drugs Board to get this kind of approval, and to say this is not there, that is not there. We have to see how best we can attach some of these people and create some small innovation hub, attach some of these people to various universities that have maybe knowledge in this kind of chemicals and stuff like that. And then we can advance upon these soaps, see how best we can expand factories, build parts of machines that we can do the processing. Then we can even consult Katanga, can you build this part for us? Can you help do this? Consult other polytechnics, can you build this part? MVTI, can you guys put this together and build this machinery part for us? From there, then we can look at how we can market the soap nationally, and then how can we look at our neighbors and also internationally and sell this kind of local.
You seem to have a lot of technological solutions, especially for agriculture.
Yeah.
But the basis of the discussion is Ghanaian inventions and innovations.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, tell me some of the Ghanaian inventions that you know about.
Yeah, for instance, there were the cattle breeding at the University of Cape Coast. They were able to breed their own cattle, and then there are different varieties.
To breed their own cattle.
Yeah, breed their own cattle that they are rearing. When you go to Ghana Atomic Energy Commission too, there is a research division that they were able to breed different palm trees and stuff like that they were able to do. We have
which are unique to Ghana.
Yes, very unique to Ghana.
Okay.
And in terms of agriculture, there has been varieties of stuff that has been produced also as well. Mechanically too, we have different parts of systems that are built. So we have quite a good lot of them. Besides the ones also that we do at the end, and have to also be in terms of software and then technology and embedded systems.
That's interesting. You're a lecturer, so let me talk about this the school bit. That's how competitive, in your opinion, as a lecturer, is technology and innovations when it comes to tertiary institutions? Are people willing and eager to invent?
Not that much. Okay, not that much, because we've not created much competition in that sector. When you look at the universities, universities are research institutions. Universities are not teaching institutions. So when you go to a university and you come out, you are supposed to provide solutions and solve problems that industry is facing based on the knowledge you've acquired. But when you look at the university system that we have here, when you finish school, majority of the people will now realize even some of the things they've learned are behind what the industry is doing, which shouldn't have been a situation. So universities are supposed to be at the forefront of this innovation, technology and stuff like that. But we don't have much of those within the country. Because there is no such competition among the universities. Government is not taxing them directly to solve some of these problems. Only few universities, I would say the universities are being, the usage is only 15%. And even that one, I think I've exaggerated it a little bit. Because
You've exaggerated the usage of...
Yeah, because they are supposed to use to efficiently almost about 75 to 85% for research activities. And students who go there are supposed to learn from the research project so that when they come out of school, they can sustain, expand, and industries that are working within these areas and provide them with the technological advantage. So the universities are not doing that much when it comes to research, and some of them don't have the interest in terms of inventing new things, which I think we have to focus on. And that is why I like the transformation within the educational sector, that if you don't have a research doctorate, which is PhD, you are not qualified to teach in a university. These are some of the reforms that the Ministry of Education is doing. So within our institution, we've tasked everybody to go and get their PhD. The NCT have done the auditing and stuff like that to ensure that lecturers have the background needed to do research so that they can lead in some of these
research
things.
Research is what's important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Research is what is more important.
I've been interested in this students inventing and innovating for a while. I speak to someone like Dr. Kaufman at the university, formerly at the University of Ghana, who tells me the students have made efforts to create things, but most of them cannot be practicalized, or most of them just do not get the support enough to be practicalized. Is that a situation at your school as well?
Yeah, in my school also we have similar things. But one thing that people within the research or the academic fraternity have to understand is that universities are supposed to lead in creation of jobs. Okay. So if there is such situations, you will have to create these research hubs that are supposed to incubate these students. You always have to pick the best students with the best ideas and support them to grow. So unfortunately, we don't have that much more often happening here. I have a research lab at Ghana Communication Technology University. The leadership of the university have thought it wise to give me a space within their institution to set up that research lab to produce students that are capable of solving those problems. I have a research lab in Cape Coast that also supposed to serve University of Cape Coast and other places, and it's also doing very well. The Ministry of Defense has also given me a space within their infrastructure to provide that kind of research capability for their men and stuff like that. So such things are supposed to happen. University of Ghana also have similar centers, but I think they need more dedicated lecturers and also more support from the institution so that these individual lecturers can take these initiatives on their own. In that case, they can groom the students. And that is what happened across all top universities. When I was in Israel, University of Tel Aviv, you see the same innovation hubs happening, startups where lecturers work with students and those who are not even within the university to develop their product. When you go to MIT, I was there also as well, same thing there. They have these innovation hubs that they work with people within the university and outside the university to solve problems. And the lecturers there are working almost some of them 24 hours. I work 24 hours with my students. When you go to France, to the same thing, building these technologies and stuff like that to solve all these problems. So we need to encourage that and make that happen rather than if in case you are within a faculty and you think what a student has done is not that can be practicalized, you will have to guide that person. And once the interest is there, you have to capitalize on the interest of the person, motivate the person to build more of those interests and learn how to channel that energy to something creative. It's a part of the problem
creative. Also that just Ghanaians, maybe institutions, if a student creates something, maybe for the health sector, there's that lack of trust for a young Ghanaian inventor to the extent that product is not picked up, that technology is not used and assimilated. Is that the lack of trust and interest between the people who would finally consume, the institutions that would consume this technology and the ones who are the students who are creating it?
The lack of trust happens because of the processes that the technology is taken through. So we have to learn to build trust around these technologies. And what you are saying, it happens in some of the cases where people say, oh, once it is built in Ghana, I don't think
it's going to work.
It's going to work. Yeah, but it shouldn't be the case. And interesting enough, Ghanaians are very hungry for their own technology because the food we even eat now, the Ghanaian food have more nutritional values than the external ones that comes in terms of the chicken and other product, the food stuff that we import. So a lot of Ghanaians are looking up to their homegrown stuffs to consume. Even in terms of seeds and of office stuffs that people use, they are more interested in having Ghanaian-made stuffs than the external ones. So if we can produce quality, do a lot of certification, validate these products at different levels, and also do quality checks, because we have to do regular quality checks. And once you maintain these quality checks and standards, that is fine, because you can certify even a place to sell a food, and you realize after 2-3 months, there will not be any cross checks and they just produce anything they want or cook anything for the public consumption. We have to make sure we have regular quality checks on some of these things, and then we can build that trust around it. And I think that should solve most of these problems in terms of the level of mistrust. Yeah.
Is our country blessed with inventors? Do you have any data on people who have created, mind-blowing technology? Ask Ghanaians.
Yeah, let me just pick maybe some of the recent ones. For instance, the guy who finished JHS was able to build that car,
the electronic car,
the
Elon Musk of Ghana.
Yeah,
I saw that too. It was interesting stuff.
Yes. So such an approach will have to be taken seriously. And we have to see how we can build teams around such a person and then let a person go to the right institution within Ghana and groom that person to be able to produce not even that type, but similar stuffs. Okay, when you go to our shops, you realize that 90, I will say, almost getting to, or 95% of the fishing boats that they use are made of wood, and they are not that automated unless they use the boats, the motors to kind of take them, the speed motors and stuff like that. We can, and ever since so many years now, you realize that the technological advancement in terms of fishing in Ghana is very, like, just
very minimal.
Very minimal.
Very minimal.
Yeah. So if we can let such a person work on boats, fishing boats, so we start building it small. Before you realize, we are building, in about 20 years' time, we are having fleets of fishing boats that we can build ourselves. And that is the direction we have to look at. And when we expand our fishing capabilities, you realize people will not come from China and other places and come and fish most of our
fish in our waters.
Yes, in our waters, and create these problems. And we can fish responsibly, build boats for our Navy, for police, for patrol, and then they can do a lot of rescue. And if we were to have a lot of technologies also as well, and we take our coastal activities seriously, we also ensure that we have these safety things, and what happened recently also wouldn't have happened. So we have to take advantage of some of these things and see how we can support and push it. And we can build alternative stuffs, and also he can also end up building other mechanical parts and other things.
Instead of everybody, you're advocating for inventors looking at areas where we could, build real solutions instead of just everyone trying to build cars and compete. That you can't really compete in that arena.
Yes,
if you can make boats for the local fishermen, there's a better chance of you being accepted as an inventor.
Yeah, and making more money.
That's what you're really saying.
Yes, sure, and you can make more money, because if the boats you're able to get fish, you can make money out of it, and then you can even set up your own company and make it bigger, rather than trying to build a fancy car and just put it on the road and think that
that's true.
You've also done it. So
that's very true. But of course, innovation technology is measured in new ideas and new creations. But the real success would be the adoption or the assimilation of that technology. What's been the impediment to the assimilation of technology in Ghana? Because the arguments will be made, China is almost beating America in technology because of the quick assimilation, adoption of the technology.
Yeah.
That's like the country makes sure that if you're going to use Momo, everybody's using it.
Yes.
What seems to be the impediment for us as a country to consume technology that's made?
Yes, the majority would be the inability of the government to make it as a priority. Because if that fails, then you don't expect the system to move. China recently have said that the electric cars produced in China should be used more than the foreign ones, which is doing good.
That legislation allows for people to create more.
Yeah, so the government will have to set its priorities right and make sure that we consume local stuff. And the government can set an example by taxing people to do some of these things for them and check the quality. For instance, if you go to Parliament and most of the chairs and other things that they use is made in Ghana, and government offices, the tables and everything that they use is being made in Ghana, and other things maintained in Ghana, that will give us more jobs, more advantages, and stuff like that, and then we can move forward. So government must be the first consumer of our product, and government is the biggest spender. So if the biggest spender consumes most of the local stuff that are made here, and also is the same government that ensures the standard of quality. So if government can ensure all these things across, we will make so much progress within our space. But if there is failure in that sector, then there is going to be
government must be the biggest consumer of Ghanaian technology.
Yes, government.
I totally agree. I mean, who else to spend the money on people who are creating things in this country, on the government?
Yeah, it should be
but
government.
It seems like most of these things already come from outside of the country. Let's go back to Kantanka, for instance. You've already mentioned the practicality of his creations and innovation.
Yes.
But I've seen the finance minister, for instance, using the Kantanka car.
Yeah.
But also, again, back to the problem. Do you think the problem is between the government saying, Kantanka, give us 1,000 pickup trucks for some ministries, and they importing a Toyota or another brand vehicle from somewhere else? What's the impediment when it comes to the government maybe saying, let's buy Kantanka cars?
Well, Maybe some of them might come from maybe the funding agencies and some of those things, but government should be firm enough to control some of these things. Because if we produce, if we consume more of Katanga cars, we can train more of Katanga car mechanics. And it is easy for us to give them that high quality training to work on only Katanga cars, rather than trying to give them training to work on Toyota cars or other Ford cars or whatever. So to be, since we manufacture the cars here, it will be very easy for us to train the mechanics to be better, to be super, and create most of those hubs around. And also in terms of spare parts, we can easily get the spare parts. And if it's becoming difficult for us to get some of the spare parts and other things being produced here, then we can tax polytechnics and other things to help develop machineries that will help recycle metal parts and produce all those things for us. And then you realize in the long term, we are developing industries that will have to support other industries to be more successful.
And it becomes a big incubator for us.
Yeah, and we expand and we can take advantage of the West African market and also the African market and then spread very fast.
That's an excellent idea. But again, the arguments will be made. Is, for instance, a Kantanka car good enough? Is that a robust car enough for anyone to spend money on and use for a long time? Or Ghanaian technologies, is it just because they're made in Ghana so we should adopt them? Are they actually effective?
No, it shouldn't be because
are they actually effective in what they are?
Yeah, it shouldn't be because they are made in Ghana. Okay. We also, for instance, we also have to look at the safety issues and maybe in case the car crashes, what is the survival rate? So that is why government have to ensure that certain safety standards are set for Katanga vehicles. They pass their cars through those tests.
That safety process.
Yes, and the safety officers are there. They try the car for some number of years, determine the engine performance and all those kind of things, to finally certify each part of the car to have passed all these quality tests.
Yes.
And that will give us the assurance. But if you are waiting for Katanga himself to just meet his own standards, then there is going to be
that's
problem.
Difficult. Yeah, that's excellent point.
Yeah.
Because we see all these auto shows, and we see that the crash test. They run the car into, an impediment, boom, they see how the airbag functions and all that, just to let us understand what the safety is for that particular car.
Yeah.
I don't think we see that for locally made cars.
No.
That could be a reason why someone doesn't want to spend their money on it.
Sure.
You think that's one of the reasons?
Yes, that is one of the reasons. And that is why we have to ensure that we have the safety checks and all those kind of things to make that happen. And then if we realize that the safety check in terms of those things is a problem, then we have to advise him in terms of having certain alternatives and that have to provide cars for certain geographical location and limit the speed so that people cannot move too fast to have accidents and then affect themselves if there are safety issues. So we can look at that. So the best thing is that we have to ask ourselves, how best can we use what we have? Even if it is not that good to meet certain standards, what standards can they meet? What help can they be to us? So we have to start from that point, and then with time, we improve upon the
and pick it up from there.
And everything. And
That's
use
good.
It. Yeah.
Soko, there's a company called Soko Aerial Robotics.
Yes.
They're creating drones for security and agriculture. How important would be such an invention or an innovation for especially a sector like agriculture?
Yeah, the Soko Aerial, yes, I've been watching them.
You followed them?
Yes, the one who runs it was a student from Ghana Communication Technology.
Oh, that's interesting. One of your students.
Yes.
You must be proud.
Yeah, sure. And they also have a lab within the signal unit at the Ministry of Defense. So the activity and the direction they are going is very positive. It takes, they started by using already made drones and they are now trying to work around
making their
own drones and stuff like that, which is good. So they need other aspects also to come in that have to do with signals and other things to help them make their drone reach longer ranges and stuff like that. So it's a holistic thing. So I think what they are doing is very positive, and we can adopt it in terms of crime fighting and agriculture and other sectors in order to improve it, which I think is a positive thing. Yeah,
that's very interesting. On your screens there, the drones, the Ghanaian drones flying, which is really incredible. We're on the age of drones now, and so even for security people, just fly these drones into the air and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
But the president on Sunday, in this last COVID-19 pandemic, address to the nation, mentioned that he's keen on putting together a team of scientists who can research into making sure our country, develops our own vaccines to fight this pandemic.
Yeah.
From a technological standpoint or point of view, is this a very good possibility?
Yes, I think KNUSC and one other university somewhere were able to develop some fine cure for some river blindness some time ago.
Okay.
But it wasn't that captured and the news didn't go far. In terms of producing certain parts of stuff, we've been able to do very well. Senegal is one of the countries that have also, even though they are going through this kind of disturbance recently, was very active in terms of doing the Ebola. And you realize when the coronavirus came in, they also were very active in terms of trying to find a vaccine to it and developing testing kits. They were very successful at it with a university, I think in UK or so. So we taking that direction in terms of finding cures to corona and stuff like that is a positive thing. But we have to also ensure that our laboratories actually have the facilities to do that. Because without this coronavirus, I think Nguchi would have still been operating at level 1.
At that capacity they used to.
Yeah, laboratory. And I don't still think, even it's not that I don't think, they don't have the capacity to run at level 4. So government will have to first understand how they will have to upgrade. And it's a long-term thing. And it's not we just deciding as a country. Okay. The government will have to understand how do we upgrade the laboratory from level 1 to level 2, level 2 to level 3, level 3 to level 4. You need manpower, you need the facility. How do we build it? Do we have to import some of them? And how do we ensure that we can build some of these technologies here? So it takes a very long time.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, to achieve it. It's not just that straightforward, because
I like your practicality and your honesty when it comes to.
Yes, I have to be honest.
The president says something, everybody's excited. You are the expert. You say it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna take a long time.
It's gonna take a long time. I was just talking about time. How long is it going to take for us to become a fully, technologically viable country that's inventing and innovating left, right, center, and also, creating products that our people can use and things we are proud of?
Well, if we are serious as a country, we have to go on a mass scale. We should think 3 years from now, we should start getting results from some areas.
Oh, 3 years is not a long time.
Yeah, it's not a long time. 3 years from now, we should start taking advantage of certain areas and then injecting the outputs and then the benefits from those areas into other areas that will take a little bit long time. And that is the direction we have to look at. For instance, for you to be successful in this vaccine lab, you have to have a lot of resources to pump in there. Okay. Now, so he can focus on other sectors that have to do with maybe agriculture and things that we can easily get money, and then expand. Then you move to other areas that have to support other sectors. Then we can expand it from there before we move to cars, maybe roads, and maybe airplanes and stuff like that. So if you don't think alongside that direction, you will end up pumping a lot of resources
into the wrong places.
To the wrong place, and then you have to close it down.
Aphetsi, you've got the blueprint. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The blueprint is right here. If anyone who makes decisions is listening, Dr. Aphetsi has been very practical today, and it's given a lot of hope when it comes to technology to say, in 3 years we can begin to get results from a lot of our innovations and inventions, which is really encouraging for me, who thought that there's no hope, but apparently there is. So we thank you, Dr. Aphetsi, for coming in. We'll definitely continue to have these conversations. It's important, the things you tell us, and it's important for us to know where our country lies in terms of innovating and technology as well.
Sure.
Thank you for your thoughts this morning.
Yeah, thank you too.
Dr. Quist-Aphetsi is a senior lecturer of computer science at the GCTU. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation. I'm back with Jackie after the short break. Stay tuned. This is Expressive.